when you almost trip, what happens next may say a lot about how well your body is aging. You don't need a medical test to notice some of the most important signs of functional aging. Sometimes they show up in the everyday moments you barely think about until they become difficult. Point 1. The first sign you may be aging well is this: you haven't lost the ability to move fast when the moment calls for it. That might sound minor, but it's not. A lot of aging-related decline doesn't show up when life is calm. It shows up when something unexpected happens, when you need to react, adjust, speed up, or catch yourself. Can you rise from a chair and start walking without feeling stiff and delayed? Can you speed up a little to cross the street safely? Can you recover after a small misstep without immediately reaching for a wall? If the answer is yes, that's meaningful. Because moving quickly requires more than energy. It requires enough lower body strength to push off, enough balance to stay upright, enough coordination to shift direction, and enough confidence in your body to respond without fear. And when those abilities are still there, it often means your body is maintaining a level of function that supports independence as you age. Point 2, the second sign, is hiding in one of the most common movements of the day: getting up from a chair. If you can still do that without a major struggle, it may be telling you something important about how well your body's aging. Because standing up requires more than motivation. It takes enough strength in the thighs and hips to lift your body, enough control to stay balanced as your center of gravity shifts, and enough stability to begin walking. Once you're upright, when those abilities decline, people often don't notice it all at once. They just start avoiding low chairs. They use their arms more, they move more slowly. They hesitate before taking the first step. So if you can still rise with confidence and control, that's more than convenience. It's a sign your body may still be holding on to one of the core abilities behind independent living. Point 3, the third sign, is something that often gets ignored until it starts to disappear. Your ability to stay steady when you turn, stop, or change direction. Walking in a straight line is one thing, but real life rarely works that way. You turn around in the kitchen. You pivot when someone calls your name. You stop suddenly at the curb. You step around bags, pets, furniture, or uneven ground. In every one of those small adjustments, ask your body to do something more complicated than simply moving forward. That's why this sign matters. A body that can still change direction without wobbling, freezing, or feeling unstable is often a body that has preserved several important systems at once. It suggests your balance is still working well, your lower body is strong enough to stabilize you, and your coordination is still sharp, enough to handle motion in real time. In older age, many falls don't happen during calm, steady walking, they happen during transitions. When someone turns too quickly, misjudges a step, backs up without noticing an obstacle, or shifts direction before their body is fully ready. So if you can still turn, stop, and move again without feeling like your balance disappears, that's not a small thing. It may be one of the clearest signs that your body is still aging with strength, control, and resilience. Point 4, what makes these first 3 signs so important is that they all reflect something bigger than movement itself. They reflect function under pressure. It's easy to feel capable when everything is slow, predictable, and familiar. But the real test of aging well often shows up in the moments when your body has to do more than the minimum. When you have to react, recover, rise, pivot, or stabilize without planning every second of it. That's why these signs matter so much. They reveal whether your body still has enough reserve to handle daily life. When life stops being perfectly convenient, they show whether your muscles' balance, coordination, and confidence are still working together well enough to protect your independence. And that's a very different standard than simply asking whether you can still walk from one room to another. Point 5, another sign you may be aging better than many people over 80 is that your body can still recover from small mistakes before they turn into big problems. Almost everyone stumbles once in a while. Almost everyone misjudges a step, catches the edge of a rug, or shifts their weight the wrong way for a second. The question is not whether that ever happens. The question is what your body does next. Can you catch yourself after a slight trip? Can you take an extra step and regain control without immediately grabbing the wall or reaching for furniture? Can you correct your posture? When you feel yourself leaning off balance, that recovery ability matters. Because it depends on more than luck, it often reflects leg strength, reaction time balance, and the ability of the brain and body to communicate quickly under stress. If you still have that built-in ability to save yourself in everyday moments, that can be a very meaningful sign. It suggests your body is still responsive enough to protect you when movement doesn't go exactly as planned. Point 6. Another sign is that your walking still has some flexibility to it. In other words, you're not limited to one slow, careful pace all the time. You can still speed up a little when needed, slow down without losing control, and adjust your steps based on what's happening around you. That may not sound dramatic, but it's actually a big part of functional mobility, because life doesn't happen on a treadmill. It happens in crowded sidewalks, parking lots, kitchens, grocery stores, and unfamiliar spaces. Sometimes you need to move faster. Sometimes you need to step around something. Sometimes you need to stop and turn. If you're walking, speed and rhythm can still adapt to those situations without making you feel unstable. That's a very good sign. It means your body is not just capable of movement. It's capable of responsive movement. And that's one of the things that helps people stay independent longer. Point 7. Another sign of healthy aging is that you don't feel fragile every time you move. That doesn't mean you feel 20 years old. It doesn't mean you're pain-free or full of energy every day. It simply means your body still feels trustworthy. Enough to use, you can stand up without bracing yourself. For discomfort, you can walk across a room without feeling like one wrong step might throw you off balance. You can turn, bend, or change direction without treating every movement like a risk. That kind of confidence matters because fear changes behavior. When people start feeling physically fragile, they often move less, hesitate more, and avoid situations that challenge their balance or strength over time. That can lead to even more weakness and even less confidence. So, if your body still feels capable enough that you move through ordinary life without constant caution, that's a meaningful sign. It may suggest you've preserved more function than you realize. Point 8. Another sign is that your legs still do their job without demanding all of your attention. You don't have to think through every step. You don't have to plan how to get off the couch. You don't have to brace yourself before standing up, stepping over something, or walking across the room. That matters because lower body function is one of the foundations of independence in later life. Your legs help you rise, walk, climb, catch yourself, and keep your balance. When your weight suddenly shifts, and when leg strength starts fading, daily life often becomes more complicated very quickly. People may start choosing chairs based on how easy they are to get out of. They may avoid stairs, they may walk less, because moving simply feels like more work than it used to. So if your legs still support you naturally through the day, that's worth paying attention to. It often means your body is holding on to the kind of strength and stability that healthy aging depends on.